in the education system. Not producing evidence on student intern keys can be considered especially heinous. In Cleveland, Georgia, the dedicated educators who exhibit this evidence are part of an elite squad known as the Senior Vocational Unit. These are their stories.
During the election in 1932, he was running against Herbert Hoover. Again, I can't remember his name. Herbert Hoover, and Hoover was receiving a lot of the blame for the Great Depression. He was the guy that everyone projected their problems and issues on. And they were like, it's Hoover's fault that the economy's bad. It's his fault that that we're in this depression, and so we're going to blame it on him. When in reality, there was not much Hoover could actually do to stop it. Okay, so but Hoover was tired of getting the blame. He was tired of being a scapegoat here. So he ran for election in 1932, but he didn't go very hard at it, at the presidency. Plus, he was going against FDR, who was a natural politician. He just had the gifts. Okay, he knew what the American people wanted. He knew what he could give them. He had a confidence about him that Hoover didn't, and that's what drew the American people to him. And he wins the election in 1932 over Hoover. All right. Yesterday, we just worked on our timeline, and we're actually turning that in today. So if you can get that to me tomorrow, that'd be great. And that's really it. We talked about the Great Depression, but that's really all. Okay? Cool. Thanks, Brady. What were the three primary contributions Georgia made to the war effort for World War I? Somebody tell me. Campbell.
Do I say all three or just one?
However many. Just tell me more.
They bought war bonds and they grew victory bonds and they had a lot of bases.
Perfect. Okay, that's all three that I was looking for. Okay, so they had a lot of military bases. All right, Fort McPherson, Fort Benning, Fort Gordon. Yeah, and I think there was one other one. There were about four or five, and Georgia had the most of any other state. Okay, during World War I. All right, so that's the answer to number one. Number two, what two factors influenced the Great Depression and affected the agricultural economy in the South?
Boll weevil.
Boll weevil was one. Number two, the drought. Yes.
Oh, I thought it was credit.
That would be for the Great Depression, like the stock market crashing. Yes, it does say the Great Depression. You're right. But I was specifically asking for agricultural reasons, Jacob. Okay. So your answer isn't wrong. It's just not what I was looking for. Okay. Cool. Okay. So the boll weevil and the drought are the two reasons why there were such hardships with the economy in the South during the Great Depression. Let's talk about it. Okay? What did you notice in the song? Did y'all notice any trends, anything that we're talking about?
Yes.
Yes, right.
Daddy lost his job.
Yes, the dad lost his job.
They got a Chevrolet.
Okay? He lost his job, and who? Why did they lose the farm? Why did they lose the house?
Because
Mama got sick.
They were too poor.
But why were they poor?
Because of the Great Depression.
Yes.
Yes.
The drought and the boll weevil, guys. Listen up. The drought and the boll weevil is portrayed in this song. Okay? So, they're feeling the effects, alright? They lost their house, they lost their farm, they lost, the father lost the job, okay? Yes, Camden.
They picked a lot of cotton, but they never got it.
That's right. They never got rich, so that means they struggled financially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was cotton everywhere, but then what happened?
Turned to weeds.
Okay? So what happened? The cotton couldn't grow, they just had weeds, right?
Yeah, the weeds were tall and the cotton was short.
Mm-hmm. Cotton was short and the weeds were tall. Alright? But who's going to save them?
Roosevelt.
Mr. Roosevelt. That's right. That's talking about Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his new plan. Alright? New deal. New plan. New deal. Okay? Okay? Next verse. Alright? Papa got a job with what?
TVA.
The TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority. He got a job working on the dams and producing electricity. And then things were looking better for him. What did they get?
A Chevrolet.
A washing machine and a Chevrolet. That's right. Okay? You bring up a valid point though, Lindsay. Like, those aren't things. Y'all listen up. Listen up. Okay? Yo, Lindsay brought up a valid point. Those aren't things that you necessarily need to get by.
They can get them now because they do daddy has a job.
Exactly. They're doing better. Things are looking up. So this new deal that Roosevelt implemented, it worked. Okay? It didn't bring them completely out of the Depression until America enters World War II. Okay? And World War II starts in 1939. Alright? But it helped them get by. They were able to live again. There were unemployment rates in certain towns that were up to 80 and 90%, which is insane. One in 10 people had a job. That's how bad the Great Depression got. And Roosevelt's New Deal dealt with a lot of that, and they were able to live again. They finally had some sort of semblance of life. Okay? So, I appreciate Grant, especially, that hates country music, and those of you that don't, thank y'all for humoring me and listening to the song.
That was the greatest.
Sam.
The song, or the cities with the super high, like, those would be the more agricultural ones, because yeah, I can imagine like in a place where everyone had an agricultural job, then that failed, and that's why like
I read that there was one town in Illinois and one town in Massachusetts.
a more diverse economy would support that kind of crash better, because if everyone's relying on agriculture and then that messes up,
Everything's kind of, that's right. Yeah. There was one other line that I want to talk about. What happened when they lost the farm and they lost the town? They lost the house and they lost the farm. What did they do?
Moved to town.
They moved to town. That's right. We talked about this yesterday. Okay? Whenever their farms failed, whenever they couldn't support themselves anymore with agriculture, they moved to town looking for more industrial jobs. Y'all remember talking about that?
Yeah.
So this entire song is about what we've been talking about. Okay? And what the last thing I want to say is, guys, history's everywhere. Okay? This is a extremely popular song by an extremely popular country music group that has won multiple awards. They were really popular in the 80s and 90s. Alright? And absolutely fantastic band if you're into country music. But, so this goes beyond just the classroom. Okay? This goes beyond, oh, I gotta memorize this for a test, and so I can pass, so I can get to college. Okay? This stuff happened. This stuff impacted real lives and real people. And it's so much so that I'm sure that someone that was in the band in Alabama had someone that was affected by the Great Depression.
Alright, so that was my field placement, and two strengths that I think I took away from this field placement In my senior year, I feel like I really grew with my ability to relate with the kids and develop relationships with them. I figured out more of the line between being a friend and being the adult in the room. I found myself my junior year trying to be too much of a friend, and that was obviously not conducive to trying to have any kind of classroom management system. So I think my ability to develop relationships with my students, I'm able to, is very good. I think that's definitely a strength of mine. And a second strength that I took away from this field placement was my flexibility. Oftentimes I would have to be I would plan too much, and then I would have to cut some stuff out, or I didn't have enough plan and I had to come up with something. And most of the time I was over prepared, but there were a few occasions where I was underprepared, and I was able to do so successfully. I was able to not waste in instructional time, except for with my conciseness. And that's an area that I definitely need to grow in, is my conciseness. I like to talk, I ramble a lot, like I kind of am right now. And history is something I'm very passionate about. I have a lot of knowledge about, and so I think that's a weakness of mine, is wanting to share every single little detail that I know with my students. And I feel like that needs to, take a step back, take a chill pill with trying to give us every single detail. They're 8th graders or middle schoolers, whatever area I'll be teaching. But for this field placement, I was in 8th grade, and these 8th graders, even though they're gifted and advanced, they don't need to know every single detail, because they're going to have history classes down the road that are going to address that. And I don't feel like I need to stop feeling like I need to teach them every little thing in my class. I want them to be prepared, but I can't afford to waste instructional time talking about things that aren't related to the standards and bore them to death, because they're still kids. They're still in middle school. So I need to do a better job of that. I also need to do a better job with my classroom management. Lots of times I would address every single little issue. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I want to tell them every single detail, and I want to address every single little issue in my classroom. I don't want to leave anything alone in my classroom. And I'm able to run the classroom very smoothly and very fluidly. But what I found after a little while of that classroom management plan and trying to be perfect and keep all of my classes perfect, it caused me to burn out a little bit, and I would become a little bit passive with my classroom management as time was going on. And I found, yes, I need to keep a tight rope on those kids, but I need to learn to pick my battles a little bit better. And so those are the two areas I need to grow in, are my classroom management and picking my battles and being concise. And here's my growth plan on those two areas. First, I started timing myself and outlining my lessons. Actually, obviously writing the lesson plan helps get my thoughts together and help me prepare for the lesson. But actually writing like a bullet pointed list helps me be able to visualize, okay, these are the definite points I need to hit on, and if I don't hit on any, I need to make sure and address these points, and then the rest is just details. So I started experimenting with that, and I found some success with that. I still need to grow a little bit in that area, and I obviously have work to do. We all I feel like I'm going to be very good at the lifelong learning thing, because I am far from perfect in having it all figured out. And the second plan is my experience, is to get in there, get more experience. I learn better by doing. I'm a tactile learner, I'm a hands-on learner, and this experience, the senior experience at North Hall Middle School, has been absolutely amazing for me in my growth as a teacher. From where I started coming in, even just my senior year, I feel like I've changed so much as a teacher and in my capabilities as being an educator, and now I actually feel more prepared to actually go out there and teach. So just to gain more experience and more knowledge, and to continue to reflect. That's another part of my growth plan, is to continue to reflect on, okay, what worked, what didn't, what do I need to improve on, by keeping like a journal of some sorts, and writing down and keeping my thoughts and reflecting on the day's lessons. So that's it for me. It's been real.